Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a commentary between Acidstormy and Gur here on Shakura's Plateau. Now both of these players are just standard run-of-the-mill middle of the pack Diamond League players, about 12 and 1300 at the time that these games are cast. I believe the top players are in the 21-2200 range. Acidstormy spawning over here on the top left hand side of Shakura's Plateau as the red Protoss player. Meanwhile, Gur spawning as the blue Zerg. So a normal BattleNet game. I have already seen this game, so I will be trying to do less of a play-by-play commentary and more of a general how to play better, things that were done right, things that were done wrong, more of a tutorial, and hopefully you guys will appreciate this as well, as these games do take a little bit longer for me as I have to preview them first. So as you're going to see, Acidstormy pretty much doing the standard opening, nothing too out of the ordinary, pylon, probes. Meanwhile, Gur over here doing the extractor trick, quickly getting 11 over 10 food. Now Shakura's Plateau, for those of you guys who were not in the beta, Shakura's Plateau was originally a 2v2 beta map that was taken out. If you notice, there is a backdoor rock straight into your base here, and then there is also an expansion hitting here. You do not know where exactly your opponent spawns because there are 4 spawning locations, one on each of the corners of the map. Now, one thing to be very careful about is there's a 1 in 3 chance you will have a close ally spawn, and this ally spawn and the walking distance between your base and your opponent's base, if you have your opponent spawning here, is actually closer than steps of war. So you may get a lot of zealots or a lot of zerglings in your base very quickly. That's something you need to be prepared for. Now Gur doing a standard opening with that extractor, gonna go ahead and lay it down, and now starting to get some spawning pool as well. Getting that spawning pool as well. So the standard spawning pool in play as Gur just tries to get more and more. Now the reason why I wanted to cast this game, or why this game was even suggested to me, was a lot of Protoss players have been really talking about how difficult it is, or I've been talking about how difficult it is for a Protoss player to really be able to deal with mutalisks in general. Now, you will not be finding any mutalisks in this game, but Acidstormy does do a great job of using phoenixes even though there are not mutalisks. So even if Gur was even to try to go for mutalisks, he would not be very successful at all. You do see a probe now just wandering the backside of this base, really wanting to see if the second Vespene Geyser is going to be taken early. He also is going to move out of the base, and what you really want to be careful of is if your opponent tries to do a fast expansion. Especially if they are Zerg, you need to know if they're going to go off of 1 base or 2 base play. 1 base play means that they're going to try to just stay in 1 base, 1 hatchery, 1 queen, perhaps a second hatchery in that base, not produce as many drones so he won't get an economic advantage, but because he's not spending the necessary resources for an additional hatchery and those drones, he's able to create a larger army. We now see 1 probe activating this Onaga watchtower here. And also, there are a fair number of destructible rocks around this map. Since this is the first time I've been casting a game on this map in quite some time, I will also say that Void Rays are a very big option on this map just because of the amount of destructible debris here. There is backdoor rocks right here, and every single time you see a Protoss player with destructible rocks, essentially he can move in, charge off of this rocks, and then swing around, hit your Vespene Geyser, and then start going straight into your mineral line. So that's going to be very dangerous. Now the standard counter for Zerg play, or for a Zerg to try to beat a Stargate for Protoss, is Hydralisk, and we're going to see how Hydralisks work in this particular matchup. One thing I do like about Gur is that Gur did get 2 queens very, very early on. 1 zealot in this position here, very nicely done, holding that position, ensuring that no Zerglings are able to run by into this position. So 1 Zergling trying to push through here, unable to get through that gap, and then 1 zealot able to finish that off there. So taking a look at the army sizes, both sides are very small. However, you now see the Stargate coming into play, and Acidstormy, you remember that he only going to get 1 Stargate throughout this whole entire game, and see how effective he uses this 1 Stargate in production, especially against Zerg. Now Gur does have 1 queen already ready on the low ground, will be spawning larvae, and also getting some more drones over here. So Gur now moving into 2 base play. 2 base play, more of the standard opening, and now Gur getting a lot of cocoons. So you can see that he's training up 8 drones. So he is now power droning, trying to get a very strong economy going. Gur also getting an evolution chamber, and I do not see a Roach Warren yet. So normally I would like to see a Roach Warren come into play from Zerg, especially now that they're going to be getting that +1 range that Blizzard believes that they need early on now. Acid Stormy getting a good number of zealots, one sentry here, another sentry here. I like Acid Stormies warping in on these sentries. What these the reason why these sentries are warped in here is to be able to force field lock if any Zerglings try to run up the ramp. By force fielding here, you can trap those Zerglings from being able to retreat and deal damage. However, you now see Gur getting shot down by this Phoenix. So a Phoenix already coming in to deal damage, and you also see the level 1 weapons upgrade. So the level 1 weapons upgrade will increase the damage on these Phoenixes from 10 to 12 for non-light units, and then from 20 to 22 for armored units. So what that allows a Phoenix to do is it allows a Phoenix to really fight against Mutalisk very well. We already see Gur at tier 2, so he is going to be getting that all-important Hydralisk Den now instead. However, because of these Phoenixes, he'll be able to harass very, very effectively. One Queen now going to make its way over. However, a Queen trying to take down one set of destructible rocks. I believe Acid Stormy should have just started to try to focus down on this Queen instead of that Overlord. That because he wasted that Graviton Beam, he's going to be forced to do another Graviton Beam there. And now one Graviton Beam is enough to shoot down a Queen. However, Gur comes in with a Transfusion and saves his Queen. So also very nicely done, and making sure to get a lot of transfusions as well. Now, one of the things that you need to do as a Zerg player is, if you are going for a Hydralisk Den, get that Groove Spine research as quickly as possible. But now you're going to see that these Phoenixes, because of their very fast movement speed, 4.25 versus 3.75 of the Mutalisk, will be able to just constantly supply lock Gur. Gur at this stage in the game needs to get more and more Overlords. He needs to spawn larvae constantly, and you can take a look at the losses. The losses are already 450 and counting for Gur at this stage, and now with 3 Phoenixes in the air, able to do that Phoenix walk and able to just shoot and take down more and more of these Overlords, continuing to just build up a critical mass of Phoenixes. A Transfusion hitting the wrong Overlord there, so a little bit of a misclick. As these Phoenixes now try to come in, we do see some Hydralisks. However, those Hydralisks were not on move and attack and did not deal any damage towards those Phoenixes. In the Phoenixes versus Hydralisks, it is a very, very odd combination. And the Hydralisks are the counter to Phoenixes, but Phoenixes, if they're able to Graviton Beam and have superior numbers than your Hydralisks, the sheer amount of damage from a Phoenix is able to take them down. Now, if you take a look at a Phoenix, the Phoenix has a damage of 11 versus light unit, which Hydralisks are, and on top of that, they attack 2 per attack. So that means that they are dealing 22 damage per round of attack. And 5 Phoenixes can Graviton Beam 1 Hydralisk and then one-shot it and then just go down the line. So that's the amount of damage that they're able to do. We now see Gur with a decent sized army of Zerglings just moving around the map. However, you see an Acid Stormy just using these Mutalisks as harassment, trying to confine the Zerg player into his base. Even though Gur is just sitting in his base, he is currently supply locked. I do not know why he is not constantly trying to produce more and more Overlords. Or is now the Phoenix is going to fly in, and now they're just trying to be cute here, trying to force Gur to play into that mental game and picking up and Graviton beaming and these Zerglings. Zerglings are obviously not really worth the micro in order to just get 25 minerals. However, it is a mental game now by forcing Gur to stay within his base, making sure that he doesn't get out macroed. Acid Stormy now moving out with a large army of Zealots, Sentries, and Stalkers. You can see that the Zealot charge already being researched, and now Acid Stormy moving into 2-base play. So Phoenixes will be able to just continue to move around the map. I believe one of the reasons why the Phoenixes are so effective in this stage in the game is because of their double attack. And this is a 20% damage increase with that level 1 attack upgrade. You're gonna be very, very hard pressed to find a 20% damage increase from 10 damage down up to 20 with a 1.1 attack speed across all other units. You do see these Hydralisks now moving out. And also a lot of Queens here. What I'm surprised about is we do not see any armor or weapons upgrade. The weapons upgrade is currently coming in, but you definitely need that armor upgrade for these Hydralisks. Hydralisks are kind of like glass cannons now, especially with Zealots. Now a Guardian Shield coming in, and these Phoenixes, at first, although they pick up some Hydralisks, are now very smart in picking up these Queens. The Queens deal a lot of damage towards these Phoenixes, and also, while they're being Graviton beamed, they cannot transfusion. So by simply moving out with a Phoenix army here, you can then neutralize some of these Hydralisks as well. It's almost like a lockdown in StarCraft 1, except for it's against a biological unit, and it lasts 10 seconds. So what this does is that by picking up those units, you take that Hydralisk out of the equation, and in terms of a food fight, 2 food Phoenix and neutralizing a 2 food Hydralisk that is a pretty fair, and then that is something that that a Protoss player will want to try to do, just because he'll have enough zealots to continue pressing and deal a lot of damage. Gur at this stage in the game, unable to really do anything else. He's trying to get more Hydralisks and also getting those necessary Spore Crawlers to try to protect and hover all of his Overlords here, but he will not be able to deal all that much damage. Zealots now coming in, trying to finish off the rest of the base. Also, we see the pylon being warped in here. acidstormy being very smart about not overexposing this pylon, but still having it relatively close to the main base. I would have suggested even putting the pylon in this position and then being able to warp in units, or just right here. What this allows us to do, it allows partial cover by the brush. We now see these Phoenixes pushing into the main base here, and now Gur has left the game. So yeah, acidstormy using these Phoenixes very, very effectively, getting the early level 1 weapons upgrade, again, to try to deal damage towards these Overlords and simply supply locked Gur. I hope you guys like this different style of commentary as opposed to my regular shoutcast. Let me know if you guys want more of these. I have another game by acidstormy, as acidstormy wanted me to analyze his gameplay and just talk about Phoenixes in general in a StarCraft in the StarCraft 2 Zerg versus Protoss matchup. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you guys on Battle.net.